Solvay Latin 2 students, well, thank you for coming in today and doing your homework and then making sure you're doing it right here. I wanted to go over our first exercise with you for this chapter on the irregular comparison. If there was some you didn't understand from this exercise A, I'm going to help you go over them now. If you still have a little something that's nagging you that you don't get during this review with me, then make sure to come to my office hours. You can ask me directly what your questions are. I miss being able to respond to you guys' questions in person. So definitely come by and talk to me during my office hours. For this exercise, we learned how to make some comparative adjectives and superlatives that were kind of different forms, different irregularities than last chapter where everything was normal. So I'm going to go over it. You can check these to yours and see what you did and see where your problems might have been. So the first one was aker, and you had to do this in all 3 degrees: positive, comparative, and superlative. The irregularity here is any adjective ending in er. The superlative is irregular. Instead of isimus, you're adding rimus to the masculine form. So the positive is aker, akris, akre. That would mean fierce. The comparative is akrior, akrius. That would mean fiercer, or rather fierce, or too fierce. And then akerimus, this is the irregularity. This means very fierce, or fiercest, okay? So that's how you make the positive, comparative, and superlative. And just a reminder, we learned this last chapter, but for the comparative, these 2 forms, akrior is the masculine and feminine form, akrius is the neuter form, and these decline like third declensions, right? Akerimus declines like a first and second declension adjective. So that's aker. Here's keller, which is basically the same irregularity. This word means swift, but it's also any adjective that ends in er has that rimus irregularity. So keller, kelleris, kellere is swift. Clarior, clarius is swifter or quicker. And then kalerimus is a superlative, which means very quick or swiftest, or extremely quick, depending on the context. The next one you had was difficilus, difficile, and this one means difficult, and it's a third declension adjective, and the comparative is difficilior, difficilius. That's regular, but the irregularity is the superlative. Certain adjectives that's base ends in L, like say the base here is the CIL, and so what they do is they add limus to their base to make the superlative. So it's not isimus, but it's difficilimus for these 4 adjectives. You want to make sure you learn which 4 adjectives that applies to. Similis, dissimilis, facilis, difficilus are the 4, and I gave you those in the notes yesterday, so you should have them already squared away in your notes. You can be learning those. So you see the 3 degrees there. Your next one was dissimilis, meaning unlike or dissimilar. Dissimilis, dissimile is the positive. The comparative is dissimilior, dissimilius. And the superlative is irregular, dissimilimus. Okay, again, the limus is the double L there, the limus superlative ending. The next one is facilis, which is irregular in the same way as the last one, facilis, facile. The comparative is facilior, facilius, and the superlative is irregular, facilimus. So on the quiz, if I asked you, hey, what's a superlative, and you gave me facilissimus, that would be incorrect because this word is irregular. The superlative is facilimus. All right. The next one is adonius. Now this one's very irregular. Any adjective ending in eus or ius is pretty irregular, and what they do is they add a word in front to show their comparative or superlative. Instead of adding eo or something to the end of it, you have an adverb in front. So adonius means suitable. The comparative is magis idoneos. And this would mean more suitable or rather suitable. The superlative is maxime idonius, which means very suitable or extremely suitable. And again, the ending is not what changes here. Idonius declines like a normal adjective, just like it does here, just like it does here, a first and second declension adjective. By the way, magis and maxime would never conjugate or decline, but adonius would conjugate or decline to agree with whatever noun it's agreeing with in the sentence. There's not a lot of these words that's irregular. The only 2 we've learned this year are adonius, this word right here, and then also aureus, which means golden. So those are the 2 words you might expect to see on the quiz for that. Now, what is liber? Liber ends in er, so that means it's going to be kind of like the ones we did at the beginning that add rimus to make the superlative. So liber, libera, librum, libera, liberum, means free. Liberior, liberius means freer, rather free. And then liberius means very free or extremely free. It's a superlative. Next one is miser. Miser means, miser means wretched or poor. It's ends in er, so the comparative is miserior, miserius. That's normal, but the superlative is miserimusaum. That's a little bit irregular. That would mean very wretched or extremely poor or wretched. The next one is niger, nigra, nigrum. This is a first and second declension adjective, and notice how it ends in er, so that means it's superlative there, will be irregular. So nigrior, nigrius is the comparative form, masculine, feminine, neuter, and then nigerimus, au, would be the superlative form. Again, the rimus there is the irregularity, every adjective ending in er. Now this one, nobilis, might have been a little trick. Maybe not. Just looking at our words here. The reason this one might be a little tricky is because I told you that a lot of some adjectives that end in an L have that irregularity, right? But this is not one of those four we mentioned. Faculus, difficilus, similis, dissimilis. This is a similar looking word, but it is not on that irregularity list. So this actually forms its superlative regularly by adding isimus. So that's the tricky part there, is not every adjective that base ends in L does that same thing. So nobilis, nobile means noble. The comparative is normal. Nobilior, nobilius means rather noble or more noble. And then nobilissimus is actually normal. That's what we did last chapter. So this means very noble or the most noble, nobilissimus. So watch out with that. This one looks like faculus, but they actually form the superlatives differently. Pulcher, pulcra, pulcru means beautiful or fine or handsome. Pulchrior, pulchrius is the comparative, and the superlative is pulcherimusaum, very beautiful or the most beautiful, and this one is an er, so that's why it's following that irregularity. Now, similis, this one is it on the list of those four irregular adjectives whose base ends in L? It is, right? So that's why limus is the superlative here instead of issimus. So similis, simile. Comparative is simile or similius. That would mean more similar or too similar. And then similimus is the superlative here. Similimus haum. And the final one here is utilis utile. Again, maybe a tricky one. This is a third declension adjective meaning useful. Utilior, utilius is the comparative. Now the superlative. This one does end in L in its base, but it's not on the list of irregular adjectives. So this is actually regular. That's the key with these, is knowing which ones are irregular, which ones are regular, even though they look similar. There's four irregular ones. This is not one of them. So the superlative is actually regular. Utilissimus means very useful or the most useful. So just a lot of little details there in this chapter, the different types of things you need to learn about. There's three main big groups. The ones that end in ER that are all irregular. The ones whose base ends in L, that some of them are irregular. You have to learn those four: faculus, difficilus, similis, and dissimilis. And then also the adjectives that end in EUS or IUS that are irregular. Now would only be two of them, aureus and idonios. Okay, so you want to start keeping everything straight, because we're adding little elements to the comparative that we learned last chapter. There's it's like peeling a banana. There's a few more things happening here. We're getting into. I don't know if that was the best metaphor, but we're getting into it a little bit more, and there's more elements to it, and we'll expand upon that next chapter. Okay. Now, keep in mind that you do have an assignment to do today that I put for you, the next exercise, but we won't go over that tomorrow because tomorrow's Good Friday, so you guys have that free to spend with your family, and we won't be doing anything that day, any assignments or anything. So I will go over today's exercise on Monday. So you guys have a long weekend, and I hope you have a good Easter weekend with your family. We're on track to have our quiz probably at the end of next week is what I'm thinking. Probably on Friday would be a good day for this particular quiz. Okay. Remember, if anything for this assignment you weren't sure about what I was saying or my correction or anything like that, you want to drop by my office hours and see me, and you can ask me any questions you need, or just show me your homework, or pretty much anything you need. I'm at your disposal during those office hours. Okay. So I hope you guys have an excellent Easter weekend, and I will check back in with you on Monday. Okay. Walete.